Oh, okay.
Kosi stole Toby's background.
I didn't steal. I think he stole mine.
Hey,
That's not true. I
Let's
was
just
here
let's just
first.
die there. Let's just die there. We are both using
All
it.
right.
all right. Good morning, everybody. Good afternoon, wherever you are.
Good afternoon.
Uh,
Good morning. Good evening. Hello. From wherever we're
Oh,
joining from. Welcome. I would like to know if. Okay.
oops, just called me. Oh,
All right. Welcome, everyone. We are about to kick off.
okay.
Welcome. Uh, all right. So, my name is Chelsea, and I will be moderating the session today. And I'm sure everyone knows what we're going to be talking about, right? So, we're going to be doing a total recap of the reInvent 2025. All right. So, I want everyone to sit back and get ready for an interesting ride. So, we'll be doing the reInvent recap by the AWS Cloud Security User Group West Africa. And if you're just hearing reInvent for the first time, reInvent is an in-person learning conference hosted by AWS for the global cloud computing community. It features a lot of keynote announcements. It features training and certification opportunities and access to over 2,000 technical sessions. Now, this event holds every year, and people from all over the world are in attendance, right? So even our speakers here today, they were in attendance for the 2025 reInvent session physically, and that is why we've invited them to speak to us about latest AWS offerings and every single thing that they experienced at the reInvent event last year. So I hope you're excited because I'm very much excited. I'm eager to hear what our speakers has to say. And if you're like me and you didn't join last year, this is your opportunity. This is our opportunity to listen to what AWS has been up to lately, right? Okay, so in a bit, I'll be calling up our speakers. I'll be introducing them. I believe you can see them already. I'll be introducing them in a bit and we will be kickstarting. So for our first speaker, we have the person of Oloruntobi. Oloruntobi is a full stack developer based in the UK. He loves learning and implementing new technologies. He's proficient in JavaScript, React, Node, Express, and Python. Over the past few years, Oloruntobi has developed strong creative problem solving skills, communication skills, and organizational skills. He is interested in applying those skills in combination with modern web technologies to build engaging and cutting edge products. So please join me and welcome Toby. Thank you so much,
hi.
Toby.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, and everyone.
Yeah, thank you
Happy
so
to be
much
here.
for joining us. Hope you're having a great day.
Yes, I am.
All right, lovely. I mean, it's Valentine's Day, so we're supposed to be in a good mood.
Why do people do this today?
All right, so our next speaker is going to be Kosi Sochuk, who is a cloud engineer with a focus on leveraging cloud technologies for innovation and operational optimization. She specializes in AWS and is dedicated to delivering scalable and reliable solutions. In addition to cloud engineering, Kosi Sochukwu has expertise in front-end development, building responsive and user-centric interfaces using tools like React, Next.js, Liquid, EJS, jQuery, and others. She's committed to continuous learning, staying updated on AWS services and industry best practices to contribute to organizations' cloud transformation journey. Wow, amazing. Help me welcome Kusiso Chukwu. Hi, Kusiso. Thank you for joining
Hello.
us today. How are you doing today?
Thank you. I don't like that it's falling on today that it's Valentine's Day. I don't like it, but I'm fine. Thank
Like we can all have,
you.
we're having our own Valentine, little Valentine gathering right now. So I hope we enjoy it, right?
Thank
Okay. Thank you for joining us. Then our last but not the least speaker for today is Sheung Musa. Sheung is a cloud security engineer specializing in securing AWS environments through secure by design architecture, threat detection, and automation. Sheung works across cloud security engineering, Wiz and CrowdStrike CWPP implementations, and AWS well architected reviews, helping teams strengthen their cloud security posture. He's also very passionate about mentoring and community learning. Help me welcome Sheung Musa. Hi, Sheung.
Hello. Hello.
Thank you
Hello.
for joining us today, Sheung.
Thank
Hope you're having a
thank you.
great day.
It's very early here, so it's
All right.
we're starting the day with this one, so it's going to be a great day. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. It's amazing to hear that. Okay, so without any further ado, we're going to be going straight into the conversation, right? So AWS reInvent 2025 really emphasized a shift from basic Gen AI tools to full-fledged autonomous enterprise-scale agentic AI, backed by deep infrastructure investment and enhanced integration into DevOps and security workflows. And that is going to be the core of our conversation today. Right. So I'm going to be asking the first question, and this question is going to be directed to Chrissy. So
Oh,
during
okay.
the during the reInvent 2025, AWS introduced three frontier agents that can work autonomously, that's independently for hours and even days. So, what does this shift towards autonomous agent AI mean for enterprise team today, and what organizational changes are required to adopt it responsibly?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to start with this can be a triggering question to some people based off of AI is taking our jobs. But then the more we try to like put it under the shelf, the more it's evolving. Because initially we had like assistive AI in the past, but now we're having agentic AI. So it's evolving. So it's better just taking notes so that everybody knows that AI is here to stay. So for what it means for organization, I feel like it's going to be faster. It's going to like speed up process, like development process and stuff. Take for instance, we use something that happened like 2 weeks ago, a week ago. I was working.
I don't know if it's just me. I think I lost Chris as well.
No, it's the network. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's the network. Okay, but we can, before
I'm,
Chris comes back,
I'm
we
gonna take a
were able
screenshot of the
to,
picture.
okay, we were able to, understand what she was saying, right? These kind of questions can be triggering for people because I think, okay, because are you back? Are you there?
Sorry, where did you lose me? Sorry.
Yeah, so you said the agentic AI can help organizations be work
Oh,
faster.
fasting the process. Okay. Yeah. So I was given a scenario like last week. I was working on this project and I was supposed to lead the project and everything was working fine. Like, I mean, I've tested, I've done everything, it was working fine. Then 2 days to the submission, I started to like, okay, benefit of doubt, let me run another test. And it was failing. I was frustrated because I had less time and imagine doing everything and then 2 days you are giving excuses. It's not nice at all. So I was really frustrated. And then I remembered Kiro. I went to Kiro and then I was like, I have this issue, but I think it's happening in either of these two files. Can you help me go and debug and do stuff like that? This is different because if I was using ChatGPT, for example, I'm going to copy my code, paste it there, give it more context, do more of the prompt things for it to give me like better answers. But then with Kiro, it's like it was working with me. basically. So it went to my files, it debugged the whole thing. In 2 minutes, I got my answer. And funny enough, it was an unclosed div that was causing the error. This is something I've spent so much time checking the backend code, the front end code, the API. I was mad. And then it was just like an unclosed div. I felt really bad. And at the same time, I try to understand that this is here to stay. And organizations imbibing it, it helps fasten the process because now I'm going to be focused more on doing things that matter than actually spending so much time debugging or closed div. It doesn't make sense. So yes, I feel for organizations imbibing it, it's a good thing. Then for how to use it responsibly, there are a lot of things to say, but then one core thing is that give AI only the permission it needs to do what it has to do. Don't go and give it extra, like so much. Because yes, AI is good, is doing the job, and then you relax and give it more permissions that it needs. It can cause problems on the long run. So this is something like very important you need to note while making use of AI. And then the second one is from what I think, I feel like there should be like some form of approved thresholds. What are we going to be doing autonomously? And then what still requires human supervision? So creating the line there helps us, use this AI better. So I think that's for my own end what I think. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much, Kusi. That was really insightful. From knowing how to delegate the right permissions to AI and not over, leaving it, giving it so much leverage to do whatever it wants to do, right? So that's how one way to use AI responsibly. And then knowing when exactly to make use of these AI agents and when to, use your human knowledge and do things manually. So thank you so much for that. So that was really insightful. All right.
You're welcome.
So my next question is going to Sheung. And so Agent Core now features episodic memory that allows agents to learn from past interactions and maintain context across sessions, right? So my question now is how does this change the way we think about designing agents workflows, right? And what are the privacy implications we need to consider?
Um, Thank you. I think there's a lot of things to unpack there, especially the episodic memory side of things. So, no, number one thing is that you treat agent memory as, you should treat it like a governed kind of a database, the same way you would treat database where you make sure that there's data privacy, there's this, there's that, there is it's isolated and the access granted is scope based on permission needed and stuff like that. So ideally, what I'm trying to say is that the episodic memory itself, it's now a full system because the agentic core itself, you have to build this, you build that, the memory retained for a very long period of time after when I was doing research. So in this category, you have to ensure there's an encryption, you have to ensure there's an access control, data retention capability, how long do you intend for the data to retain, and then organizations have to make sure they put some kind of checks in place to make sure that the agentic memory is, I mean, the agentic core is doing what it's needed to do with this, the memory. So I know I might not really give you the detailed answer you needed, but from a security perspective, these are the things that I would expect to be embedded into an agentic core. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that, Sharon. I'm sure that a lot of people were able to understand um, what needs to be done in terms of privacy implications and all of that. So I really want to say to the audience, I hope you're taking notes. I hope you're listening attentively because this, what you're gaining right here is what was spoken about at reInvent. So it's very important that you take note of what is new in AWS at the moment. Okay, so my next question will be to Toby. So AWS announced Trinium 3, right? And if I'm correct, Trinium is like a high computing chip designed by AWS to help train machine learning models and AI models, right? So AWS announced Trinium 3 with 4.4 times more compute and 40% less energy consumption, while Trinium 2 is already generating a lot of revenue for for AWS. So for organizations evaluating AI infrastructure, how do you decide between GPU-based solutions and AWS's custom silicon, and what workloads are best suited for each?
Yeah, I'd say it depends mainly on three things. Like flexibility is one, cost is another one, and also like workload type. And for GPUs, I would say they are very flexible. They support most framework and models out of the box. So if your organization, for example, is one that is experimenting and trying to fine tune like different models or running like mixed workloads, then GPUs are like a very safe choice. But for companies where, for example, they are already like pushing the boundaries of compute and networking, their training times are taking a lot of time, and they're trying to reduce inference time, which an inference time is just like the difference between when you send an input to AI and then you receive an output. Then Trainium 3 is best suited for those type of workloads because really it helps you reduce costs and also increases efficiency. And one thing we're always trying to do with AI and with large language models is to reduce costs and also increase efficiency because that's one of the biggest like barriers basically to worldwide adoption and scalability. You want to be able to like reduce the cost you train an AI, and also you want to increase the efficiency of that AI basically. So flexibility is really important in determining what you want to use. If you already have a predetermined structure, then Trainium 3 will be the best way to go. If you want your models to have flexibility, you're doing a lot of experimentation, then GPUs are probably better suited for that. And also you need to think about like the framework around those chips. For example, GPUs mainly they're created by NVIDIA and they have like a CUDA framework basically based around them. The a CUDA ecosystem that allows you to be able to do a lot of things with them. With Trainium 3, it's kind of new and it's custom based, so you need to like figure out a lot of solutions on your own, basically. So I think it really depends on like how much you want to save, the flexibility you need, and like the workload type you are running. So for big companies like Anthropic, some of them are already using like training like Anthropic. They already have like large language models. They want to reduce training times. They want to save costs. Then Trainium 3 is like a very good chip to use. Did we lose
To make
Charles?
this out for in order to workload type. All right. Thank you so much for that. Please, guys, if you have questions or you have anything that you want to contribute, any comment at all that you want to make, you can just drop them in the chats. All right. So, our the next question I'll be asking will be directed to Kosi. So, with Amazon Nova Forge enabling custom foundation models, how should organizations decide between fine tuning existing models and building their own from scratch?
Oh, sorry, I was hearing you in bit, but I think I got what you were asking. Um, so borrowing what Toby said, it depends on your use case. What are your needs, right? Is it cost? Is it time? Or it could be architectural control or even type of team, right? Because if you're trying to reduce costs, you can't go and be building from scratch. And then if for example the skill set of your team is like limited, not so broad, you can't go doing your own, right? So it just depends on what you have and what you want. So if you want to reduce costs, fine tuning is better off. If you want to have more architectural control, then go for building from scratch. So there's no, it's just very straightforward. What do you want, what do you have, and you pick from it. So yeah. Did anybody hear me? I
Yes, we
can't hear
did.
Chelsea anymore. Oh, okay, okay.
Yes, we did.
I am so sorry. Can you hear me now?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Yeah, so thank you so much, Kosi, for that. Um, so my next question is going to be directed to Toby. Right. So AI factories allow organizations to deploy AWS AI infrastructure in their own data centers. For industries with strict data residency requirements like healthcare, finance, government. So, how does this change AI adoption conversation? And what are the operational trade offs compared to public cloud deployments?
Thank you for that. So data sovereignty is becoming like a really big deal, especially like in the world where we are now, where there's a lot of data being computed. Data is really like king now. So it's becoming something that companies are aware of traditionally. So I would say, for example, like apart from even companies that are in highly regulated sectors like healthcare, finance, government, even just normal big companies, you don't really want to have a situation where, for example, like your staff or your workers basically are using just like the open endpoint or open instance of any of these large language models and using it to do a lot of like work that is classified and is proprietary basically, because you that's not really safe in the sense that like you are giving that information back to the large language models, and there's an opportunity for them to use that to build like a competitor or something. So that's something like a lot of companies are looking at. And also for government, for healthcare, for finance, like in terms of national security also, like many governments today want to adopt AI to make it more efficient, but also they need to consider not using things that are open in the cloud, basically like the open instances, because you don't want yourself as a government to be putting stuff where your workers, you're putting in national security stuff, things that are classified and stuff like that. So we are going to get a situation where a lot of companies are going to be moving over from the cloud basically to on premises, because that's the only way they can safeguard your data and make sure that your data is sovereign and it's not moving from one from one place to another, or there's data leakage. And in order to be able to do that, that's going to be expensive. But some of these companies also want to still have the ability or the opportunity to use a lot of AWS tools. So that's where like AI factories come in, where you can build your own data centers, but then you can use AWS custom tools like AWS Bedrock in your data center basically. So that means like even though you're using an AWS tool, your data basically will still be siloed within your data center, and you're not afraid of any data leakage or like your data being leaked into a third party or your competitors getting hold of your data basically, or even the large language models themselves, like building up like an app to compete with you basically. So this is something that is really important. I think the trade-off would be uh, depending on how big you are as a company and how proprietary the things you are working on is important. So for companies, for example, that work on defense, that work on things like national security, for governments, they most likely would not have a choice than to go from on cloud to on premise. And then this is where they can adopt things like AI factories, because that would help them protect their data and make sure they are meeting also the requirements of data sovereignty that is set by by their regulators, basically.
I hope everybody can hear Toby. I think the network is
Yeah.
okay. You are breaking a little towards the end, but from what I've gathered, Toby is saying that companies or organizations with strict data residency requirements like finance or government, most that is those are companies that can adopt AI factories, right? So they can decide to run this AI workloads on their own centers on premises rather than using the public cloud. All right. So thank you so much, Toby, for that insight. So my next question would be to Sheung. At the last year's event, Matt Garman mentioned that the data center campus is the new computer when training next generation models. How should organizations think about infrastructure planning when AI workloads can require the next level of skill? And what does this mean for smaller teams who can't build their own data centers?
Okay. I'm gonna circle back on a few things Toby said there. When it comes to AI workload factory, especially what Matt said, to me, one thing is that a bigger organization, so AI workload would would stand as a data center for them in the sense that they have to think about how they manage the entire thing, like the network segmentation or IAM separation or governance around that. Then for smaller organizations, I don't think they really need their own data center, but they can literally leverage AWS services. But they still have to still own their identity, capability, like access control, all kind of things like that. So in two things, smaller organizations don't need their own data center, but need to govern all the data that they're leveraging when they're using agentic core. But for a bigger organization, if you are going to have your own data center, just make sure you want to construct security around it. And like Toby said, you leverage AI Factory, you use AWS services, but you still own your data and you control how it's being governed. So I think that's how the whole thing will go.
All right. Thank you so much, Sharon. Okay, so the next question is going to be to Toby again. So the new DevOps agent promises to analyze data across CloudWatch, GitHub, Service Flow, and other tools to identify root causes independently. How do you see this changing the on-call experience? And what skills should DevOps engineers focus on developing as these agents take over routine incident screening?
Yeah, I think in terms of on-call experience, basically, I think the major problem DevOps engineers face is gathering context. So when there's a problem that you need to, or there's an incident, the first thing like DevOps engineers do is they spend a lot of time like trying to gather context on what has happened and why it has happened or where it has even happened and try to trace like the root cause of what's causing those problems. But with DevOps agent, I think that it would help to reduce like the cognitive load basically, like help clear out the noise basically and like point you to what the root cause is. So instead of you spending a lot of time like just trying to like gather context or you get a vague error like an ICPU alert, basically, like the agents can go investigate and tell you, oh, like I found a memory leak somewhere in the code that's causing this ICPU alert. And like I've probably made a PR or a pull request basically to help solve this problem. So that kind of points you in the right direction. It reduces like the cognitive like load. And like reduces the time you need to spend on gathering context. And I think it helps save companies money because you don't have to spend a lot of time figuring out why you have a downtime in terms of like the skills like DevOps engineers should focus on going on with the advent of AI. I think like with everything in life, like AI is a tool, just like you have like your programming languages, you have like your DevOps tools, everything is a tool basically. So, but it's still important to know how to solve problems, how to do system architecture design, and basically like design thinking, system architecture is going to be very important because even though it's automated, it still needs you to guide it in the right direction, create the right architecture for it to be able to figure out things and help you solve problems in the most efficient manner. And if you have like a failing architecture from the get-go, there's only so much AI is going to be able to do to help you like mitigate that. Like so skills like system architecture, like knowledge of automation basically, and also like security thinking from first principles. I think those are things that are going to be really important going forward.
All right. Okay. I think you broke a little towards the end again. Okay. So you guys have heard it from Toby. AI is not stealing your jobs basically. It's just a tool, right? But then to stay ahead of the trend, it's important that you learn the basics of system design, system architecture. So that's really important. Thank you so much, Toby. So to Kosi, How does AI-driven observability change the traditional DevOps workflow from incident detection to root cause analysis and resolution?
Okay, so I think the first part of Toby's question and his response already, replies, answers all the questions. But I would just say that it has changed. There's a change from reactive firefighting kind of to a more proactive mitigation, right? And then with the context he mentioned, initially you see things like uh, something like, oh, we noticed a latency in service A. But then with more context, like you mentioned, you can see something like, oh, we noticed a latency in service A few minutes ago because of a config change in service B, which has increased the connection pool exhaustion. Just give you more context. And for an engineer that sees A and B is actually like
So I
B is.
think we're finding it hard to
Sorry,
hear
can you hear
you.
me? Can
Yeah, we
anyone
can
hear
hear you.
me?
Yeah, we can hear you,
Just
Gosi.
dropping. It's breaking from my end
Chelsea, I
though.
think it's from your end.
I think it's from your end, Charles. Yeah.
Oh, I see. Okay, please go on. I'm so sorry. Please go on. I'll just try to.
So where did you I was explaining the whole context thing Toby already mentioned. So if you give an engineer, if an engineer sees like this two response, the one with better context kind of makes his work easier. And like the outcome of it is that it has massively reduced the MTTR rate. So which is a good thing. So I think let's keep it going with the AI observability stuff.
All
Chelsea,
right.
you there?
Thank you so much for that, Chrissy. Yes, yes, I got you. So one thing I really got from what you said is that um because of how this shift, agentic AI has caused this shift that helps us be more proactive in resolving incidents. So it has helped us reduce mean time to resolution, and that is one benefit of having agentic AIs in our workflow. Thank you. So, Sheon, I know you're big on cloud security and you're you're a security engineer, right? So this next question is for you. What are the biggest new security risks introduced by agentic AI, and how should organizations adapt their threat models?
Oh, that's a very big question. So, from a security perspective, we're all still trying to figure out agentic AI security. I would say, like, you can't really define what you can do or what you cannot do. Everybody's just trying to figure out. But one thing is, I would say, is prompt injection. So we know it depends on what you put in there and how you do that. Then another thing, it's how you use the tool itself. So tool misuse. And or was it not 2 weeks ago that Wiz, one of their what's it called, lead researcher that hacked into the cloud mode bots or the agentic one that people are installing on their machine. So within 3 minutes, they were able to break that. So that's one thing in there. So another thing is memory poisoning, since our agentic AI now use a lot of memory. So what are you putting in there? So what are you putting in there? So now, how do you prevent it? So from a regular cloud security standpoint, is number one is assessing the tool, making sure everything is doing what is needed to be done. So before an application is deployed, there has to be a specific set of review that you go through the entire architecture, understand what is connecting to what and what is talking to what, why this is there, why that is there. I think from that standpoint, you can be able to identify anything that can lead to misconfigurations or vulnerability. So at this point, we're still figuring out agent AI threat. So that's what I can say so far.
Okay, thank you so much, Sheon, for that. So basically what I got from that is that on our own end we should be careful with the kind of prompts we put into these tools, right? To prompt injection basically. Okay, thank you. Then my next question is going to be directed to Toby. What patterns or practices have you found most effective when integrating AI coding assistants into team workflows? and where should humans still stay firmly in control?
Okay, so I would say effective patterns that I've seen basically structured usage, not free usage for all basically, and things like using AI for like boilerplate, plate, like testing, like refactoring, suggestion, documentation, are things that I've seen successful teams do with using AI. Basically, you treat AI like as like the output of AI as a draft and not a final answer, and enforcing strong code reviews, basically to check what AI is doing, and also maintaining like clear architectural guidelines. So there are so many ways you can do that. Like for example, with Claude, like you have like an MD file where you can put in things and ways you want the agent to work. Basically, you could also have like a skills file where you also give it a lot of context on your code base and also rules and guidelines that you want the agentic AI basically to follow in order to be able to output code. And in my experience, I would also say you want to ask the AI to deliver small chunks of features at a time, basically, so it's able to work more effectively instead of asking it for just one big thing, basically. So you want to give it small chunks of work and also guide it. I would say in terms of where women should stay firmly in control, I would say the first thing is security decisions. Like you're just one like very you're one part away basically from being hacked, especially if you are in a very regulated environment like finance, healthcare. You don't want your customers losing money, and you don't want your patient's data basically or your customers' data leaking out. So that's one very important thing. Also, architectural patterns. Those has to be decided by the engineering team and not AI itself. So that AI can then follow that architectural pattern. I'll say also the correctness of the business logic that has to be looked through at every point, at every stage in time, and make sure that AI is doing what it's supposed to do. And that's where like enforcing strong code reviews come into place. Like there has to be a very strong review process. Also, like making sure that there's strong compliance for sensitive code, depending on what field or what thing the company does. Like there has to be strong compliance also. And I'll say the last thing is like the humans has to always be like the final approval for pull requests. You don't want like agents just creating pull requests basically and just merging them on your own. I feel like that's down the line. There are going to be repercussions for that. So you want to maintain like approvals, going through a review process before like that code reviews is approved, basically. So like all in all, I would say like AI would help you accelerate like execution and stuff, but we still need humans to like have accountability basically and oversee what it's doing.
All right. Thank you for that, Toby. Thank you so much for that. So I hope to the audience, I hope we're learning how to use AI responsibly. All right. So human control is still greatly needed even when we're using AI tools. All right. Thank you so much for that, Toby. So my next question is going to be to Sheung. When AI systems make autonomous decisions, who is accountable and how should organizations design auditability and human in the loop controls?
Okay, first of all, I'm going to play a scenario for us, then we decide who should be accountable. Imagine you work with, and you're in an SRE team, and in the SRE team, you are responsible for different things like teams reached out to you like, hey, we're having connection error with this application, or this is down, that is down, we need this. But because of the amount of tickets that comes in, and since you guys have SOP document that you've written down, a lot of it, so to start going and picking those things and then sending it to teams might be really challenging, especially when you're having emails, you're having all of that. Then you come up with a solution with your team. How can we resolve this to give us time and focus on the bigger picture? And you say, okay, let's use agentic AI, or let's use AI to solve the problem. And what are the things that we're identifying? We see that emails are coming in, but it's hard for us to go all over. Then you build an AI that is talking to your email. I mean, you use an AI services, it's talking to the email. And when emails comes in, it looks through that email, review it. If somebody's saying that I have an issue with an ECS cluster and all of that, then you have a documentation that explain how to troubleshoot that. So the AI go to that documentation in Confluence page, pick out the SOP, extract it, and create a draft email and put the link and all of that. So all you need to do is look at the email that was sent, look at what the AI draft you look to be sure that it does what it intended to be doing, then you send the email. So if you look at that picture now, we're using AI responsibly, but somebody is still accountable for it, which is myself and the team. So this is how I can give you a very good answer. You are responsible for how AI is being used. It is what you tell it that is do. Now, it is how you build the AI that you start making decisions. And I know you asked question about threat. One of them is uh, decision, securing decision. So you have to design that AI in the sense that when it's making decision, it's making some very good decision. And in this other part, the in the other scenario that I played, we are the one making the final decision. The AI is making the decision in the sense that it generates does what it needs to be done, but you as a human are still responsible for whatever AI is doing.
Okay, thank you for that, Sharon. That was pretty clear. Thank you. My next question is going to go to Kwesi. So, AWS announced the security agent for proactive application security and enhanced guard duty with AI ML detecting multi stage attacks. How do you see AI changing the security landscape, both as a tool for defenders and as a potential attack vector we need to protect against?
Oh, okay. So the very funny thing is that I don't even think that AI is improving security. To be honest, I just think it's changing the battlefield. Because now, based off of what we've said, like, other questions, it feels like AI is more on the defensive side because it's reducing MTTR, you are doing proactive mitigation and stuff like that. So it feels more like, oh, AI is on the defensive side. But then looking at it on a broader scale, you see that it's also giving more leverage to the attacker, because we've seen like very sophisticated attacks like the voice effect attack, people, the impersonation thing, the even like email phishing and something like that. Because now AI now acts like humans. Some of the responses you get from AI sounds like humans, and then so how will you depict which one is right and which one is wrong? So it's like bread and butter. So both of them are, this one is fighting, this one is drawing. So there's no definite change. The major thing is how you use it just makes a difference. But if it's changing, it's definitely not improving. It's just changing the battlefield. That's what I think.
That made so much sense. That makes so much sense. At the end of the day, it boils down to how we, the users, make use of these AI tools, right? That makes sense. Okay, so to my next question, I'm going to be directing this question to Toby. How do tools like AI DevOps agents and AI coding assistants reshape the roles of developers and SREs over the next 2 to 3 years? So, how will it reshape their roles?
I mean, I think that's the question everyone is asking, and I wish we like knew the answer to that right now. Like that would be good to know, but it's really difficult because the landscape is changing almost every week. Like almost every week you have like 10, 12, 15 AI announcements that changes the way you think about different things and how you are even using the products and AI itself. So it's difficult to say, but I think like in the next 2 or 3 years, a lot of things are going to change. Um, Developers are probably going to spend like less time writing like repetitive code, probably spending more time designing systems, like designing guardrails for AI, validating AI output, and things like that. Probably like in the future, we're going to probably transition from software engineer to like something like systems orchestrator, where you just come orchestrating different AI systems basically and different AI agents. So I think focus is going to be more like on like problem solving skills and not just implementation. Like a lot of emphasis is going to be on how like software engineers, how we understand like trade-offs, failure modes, and security. So, and engineers that understand like architectural design, I think security trade-offs, they're going to be very, very important. And I think there's so much emphasis that is going to be put on like judgment, like the judgment of an engineer. That's going to be a core skill because you're going to have a lot of trade-offs based on like different code that AI is inputting, and having understanding of what those trade-offs are basically, and how you're evaluating the code, reviewing those codes, and also security involved, compliance. I think that's going to be very important. So I think it's really hard to say what the landscape is going to be in 2 to 3 years' time because we don't know how things are going to change. Is AI going to get cheaper? Is it going to get more expensive? Like, are we going to have like agents that can run locally on our machine? Like, there are so many ways we can lens by which we can look through this. So I think it's hard to say, but eventually, like I think everyone should just continue using the tools and making sure that their system design, their knowledge of security, and also knowledge of trade-offs is very grounded because I think that's still going to be very important.
All right, thank you so much for that, Toby. So Toby has given us insights into a new future role, which is systems orchestrator. So you guys heard it from here first. Okay. So, Toby, still on what you said, right? So, with announcements like ECS Express Mode, which is like a one command deployment, and Lambda durable functions, right? We are seeing serverless become more powerful and autonomous. How do these capabilities change the way you architect for DevOps workflows, particularly for long running processes?
Yes, so I think for DevOps workflows, like it helps in that you can now run like long running stateful resilience workflows without really managing the servers. And that's really, really nice. And also you can like synchronize the pipelines, you can pause, you can resume them safely. I think Lambda durable functions as a like as something where you could pause like a function for like up to a year if that's what you want while waiting for like an approval process or something. So I think that it's a very good feature, and I think it's making serverless also powerful. I also think the fact that you can also deploy the kind of you can also choose the kind of instance you want your Lambda function to be run on. Basically, you can decide how powerful or how little you want in terms of easy to compute. I think that's really, really good. And it means that you can then think of like a more compute intensive workflows and outsource that to serverless if you think that's going to be cheaper based on like the systems design and stuff like that. So I think it's helping DevOps engineers basically think less about or managing servers for some kind of responsibilities like workflows. And I think in the long run, it's an option basically to have from easy to instances.
Right. Okay, thank you so much for that insight, Toby. Thank you. Then my next question is going to be to Kusi. I know we've been talking about how AI agents help us reduce main time to resolution and all of that. So with what was announced at the event last year, how realistically can AI agents reduce MTTR, and where are the limits?
I mean, from what you've mentioned and from what every other, especially Toby, what he has said, like we can visibly see, and that is real, that it's reducing MTTR rates, taken from the aspect of giving it more context. So that is not even debatable. It's actually reducing and it's helping. But in terms of the limits, there's a lot. But then what I'm going to like one that I'm going to talk about is on the trust that we have, right? Like the cultural trust that we have in automation. Because take for example, if an still be having those vague response and having those vague response, the the benefits of those agentic AI in terms of the MTTR cannot be achieved because now you don't have good context. If you now decide to make use of agentic AI in some aspect of your workflow, maybe for example, let's take for example the aspects where it's going to give you like more context, and then it helps. But you know that it's still humans that will go in and fix the problem if you are doing it partial. But then if you want to now make it fully autonomous, which is something that we are trying to like, there is like a fight around it because although I get the point of organizations that don't want to go fully autonomous, they still want to have like some form of human intervention. So because of that, not giving the AI that trust to like remediate it autonomously, we still not will not reach, like gain everything that we're supposed to gain from this agentic AI. So I would say that culture trust limits the gains that we're supposed to get. So Chelsea, did you hear me?
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes.
It seems like you were breaking.
Yes, my network is. I'm so sorry for that. I'm so sorry. My network has been
Where did you
really
hear me
poor.
last?
But I was, yeah. So you were recapping on what everybody has said, what Toby has said, and um, yeah, you were explaining what the limits are currently. So I didn't really get that part.
Do you want me to say it again or?
Yes, can you just take it what you said last? Can you just repeat what you said last?
Oh, okay. So I was talking about the limits. I was saying that culture trust in automation kind of limits the MTTR gains. And then I gave an insight if we were not using like this agentic AIs, for example, in terms of AI driven observability, we're still going to have like vague responses. And with vague responses, the mean time to resolution is going to still be big. So we're not getting the full benefits of what this agentic AI is supposed to do for us. And then if we decide to do it like partially without the whole auto remediation, even after it has provided this context in few minutes, it's still human beings that have to go in and fix the problem. And I get organizations that don't want to go fully autonomous, I say, and stuff like that. So like not going fully can, it will make us not to get the full benefits of those AI. So this will always remain a limit unless one party decides to say, okay, let's go fully. So yeah.
All right, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you for that. So I'm going to be directing my next question to Sheung. So with agent core identity providing enhanced authentication and fine-grained access controls for agents, how should organizations adapt their zero trust architecture to account for AI agents as a new class of users? And what are the differences in how we should think about agent identity versus human identity?
Oh, sorry, I'm muted. Big question. So, when we look at IAM itself, we know how general it is. Trust nothing, trust only what is needed. So, in other words, just treat AI as an high privilege service account because we're talking about user and non-user. So, AI agent is non-user, while you yourself, you're the user. Just treat them as an high privilege access account, whereby you're scoping role, instead of access key or secret key or any kind of things like that. You're preventing confused deputy when you're, from a trust relationship perspective in the role. And also you're monitoring what kind of access do they get because you're going to give AI agent access to specific AWS services to do some certain things. So you have to make sure that all of that is there's a fine grained access control in that perspective, regardless of zero trust or whatever you want to call it. Just make sure you're given the specific access that is needed, not just everything. So that's what I can say.
Thank you for that. That makes sense. I think most times when people are talking about this agentic AIs, people often forget that we're supposed to also treat them as users, right, and give them fine-grained access and least privileged permissions to be able to control what they have, access to, and limit what they have access to. So
That
that's
is completely
a
correct.
really important aspect that I think a lot of people should adopt and a lot of teams should adopt. So thank you for that insight, Sharon. So in Werner Vogel's keynotes, he introduced something called a Renaissance developer, right? So that is someone who is curious, thinks in systems, like we've said before, and communicates effectively. Now, I just want to ask, this question is for everybody. Um, with AI handling more routine coding tasks, how should developers, DevOps engineers, or evolve their skills to remain relevant and add unique value? Because I'm sure this is in the mind of everybody, right? They're now we've moved from just AI tools to agentic AIs that do more than just assisting. They literally go in and do this work independently of us, right? So now that we're having this shift, what should developers, what should engineers, what exactly should we focus on evolving? What part of our skills should we focus on evolving? So, Toby, do you want to go first?
Okay. Yeah, I'll say one of the first skills that would be important would be like what people now call prompt engineering, which I'll say is like framing a problem for AI, because AI is very literal. It does exactly what you ask basically. So like it's going to be important having the skill to define requirements, constraints, like edge cases. I think those skills are going to be very important. Also, the best engineers will be engineers that can clearly define problems, like break tasks into smaller structured instructions and review AI output critically. And in that instance, like judgment becomes like a very, very core skill. I think another one that is going to be important is going to be mastering and system architecture and design. Like it's going to be important to understand like distributed systems. Like if AI writes a service for you, for example, you still need to know like whether this should scale horizontally, what happens if a dependency fail, like how do we keep cost predictable in terms of in terms of scaling, vertical scaling, horizontal scaling, things like that. And also, I think another one is going to be being strong in security and governance, like understanding the principle of least privilege, understanding how like your security is designed, making sure you understand what IAM is. I think those are going to be very important going forward. They are going to be skills that developer would need to have in order to be able to use AI in a responsible and a good way, basically.
Your
I think
voice
you're
was
muted.
uh oh, she's muted.
We
You're
can hear
muted.
you.
Okay.
No, you are.
Oh. Well,
Oh, can you hear me now?
perfect.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, yeah, I think I was muted. All right, so I was saying that I really like the first point to be made, which is prompt engineering. I think that is a skill a lot of people need to learn because at the end of the day, is what I will do, right? So how well can you really define your prompts? How well can you instruct AI on what to help you do, right? So learning that prompting skill is very key, very, very important, right? Amongst every other important skills that you mentioned. So thank you for that, Toby. Shion, would you like to go next?
Toby has already said everything. So, but all in all, like you said, you have to be able to uh, define out. I mean, you have to be able to know how to use AI itself. You have to be able to define specific things that you wanted. Whatever you give AI is what's going to give to you. So you need to know. Kosi said something that she was having problem, and then Kuro went in and trying to fix that. But in the other sense, you have to be able to define the whole problem. Like, hey, I'm having this, I need that. So you be able to tell what you specifically need. Then another part is that the AI was do something for you. So if you don't have core uh, well architected design mindset, you whatever AI gives you is what you wanna what you will use. But ideally, if you have that big knowledge, you're able to discern that okay, this is what you gave me. However, this is not all I needed. I need this is what I need. You take what you need, then you use that uh, architecture mindset to redefine what it gives you to get you an outcome. If not, it's just gonna give you it will spill out anything and you just take it like that. You will not think of cost, you will not think of security, you will not think of scalability, you not think of no like any kind of things that will help your application work secured. So you have to need to have that architecture mindset to be able to know what you really wanted and then be able to take out what AI gives you and make use of it. So, and I think that's one thing engineers need to have uh, while using AI.
All right, thank you for that, Shion. So, guys, have an architectural mindset. Know exactly what kind of output you want to get, right? Before even prompting your AI. That's the only way you can know if the AI's output is exactly what you need. So, thank you for that. I think Kosi is having
Can you?
network issue.
Oh,
I think,
no,
but
yeah,
Kosi is
I
back.
went off. I went off before, but I'm back.
Oh, okay.
So
All
I
right.
didn't
Welcome.
really hear. I didn't really hear
The
the whole
question.
questions. Yeah, but then from what Toby, from the little I heard from Toby and Chinwa, I think I get like a glimpse of what the question is. So I will go back to a tweet I saw a month ago when someone was like, "Thank God I learned how to code before AI came," and it's very funny because yes, I also like I understand where the person is coming from because with this whole AI thing we tend to get a little bit lazy, right? Because now you just give it what it has to do and then it goes do its stuff. But then the core things that we're supposed to know, we don't know. Especially for people that, are just starting out or people that are still trying to learn and understand everything. So I would still say that yes, in as much as you are using AI, use AI as a learning tool. Don't use it to do your work. Just like a child that when they give the child assignment, the child gives it to the elder sister, oh, do my assignments for me. How will you learn if your elder sister is doing your assignments for you? So the major thing is rather than leaving AI to do the whole work for you, use it as a learning tool. It could be prompts like, oh, I want to learn Python. Can you draft out a Python plan for me? Or I want to work on this project. Can you draft out the steps? Let's do it together. If AI gives you this answer, what just let it be interactive so that at the end of the day, even if AI, does half of the work, but then if they ask you to explain some of the answers AI give you, you can explain it with confidence. So that would be what I would drop.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so
I'm
much,
gonna add
Kosi. So,
one other thing.
okay.
There's this Instagram video that I saw. This lady is a software engineer, and she said the problem they're facing lately as a senior engineer is that majority of their intern or first year engineer is that they're using AI, but they're giving them more problem in the sense that they use prompt engineering, they gather code, and they just drop it. Then when they drop it, they they don't pay attention to the coding standard. There are better ways of building something. AI will write a logic for you, but that logic might be prone to um, vulnerability. So AI would recommend a specific package for you, and you don't even know that that specific package has end of life, or the runtime is giving you is prone to a software supply chain attack. So all of that is giving them so much problem. But like Kosi said, let AI help you, but not let AI do the job for you. So if you want to write a specific logic or something you think of, you can ask AI, I'm trying to do this, I'm trying to do that. How can you help me? Imagine they ask you that, oh, we need you to build a remediation whereby when you identify some specific EC2 instances that don't have uh, endpoint security, maybe Microsoft endpoint agent. So we need you to pick those EC2 instances, then check their Linux flavor, what OS they're leveraging on, then install the endpoint inside. Then also after you do that, send an email to the teams that, hey, we've installed this, or if it doesn't work, you should. I'm just playing a scenario. So in that sense, the AI cannot do that. If you ask AI, it would do it, but the secure coding in your environment is not how the AI will build it. So, but you can tell it that I'm trying to build this. Can you give me a level of how I can do it? Then you explain. So after explanation, you're able to pick out a few things there and you build your solution. So don't just take whatever AI gives you and just throw it in there. You'll all be in trouble. So yeah.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, Kosi Asheo. That makes a lot of sense, right? So AI should not replace our thinking process. It should not replace every single thing that we do. We should use AI as a learning tool instead, right? Thank you for that insight. I can see that some people have questions in the chat. We would respond to your questions once we are done with the session. All right. So just hang on to whatever question you have. And please, for every other person tuned in, if you have questions, please drop them in the chat. We'll do all to respond to them. So I have a question for Toby. What patterns or practices have you found most effective when integrating AI coding assistance into team workflows? And where should humans still stay in control? I don't know if I've asked that question. Hi, Toby, did you get that?
Yes, I got the question. I think I already answered that question earlier.
Sorry, am I audible? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, okay. Yes, so Toby, did you get the question?
Yes, that question has already been answered. I think you asked that question earlier.
Oh, we should that. Okay,
Yes.
okay, okay. I'm so sorry. All right. So I think we should just take the question from the chats. So Idris Fagbemi is asking a question, and it says, "Is it possible to secure AI in terms of biases, governance? What security can be infused into AI or LLM in general?" So I don't know who wants to take that first.
Yeah, I can I can take a few part and other people can chime in. So for example, let's use AWS Bedrock. It has different model and there's LLM there. But one key thing that is important is the guardrails, and that is why AWS announced guardrails last year reInvent. So it's a governed way of defining what your LM can do or what your AI can do from a security perspective. Same way you put guardrails in your entire AWS organization to define what an account or user can do or what services, all of that. So that same thing goes to AI guardrails. So use guardrails effectively to define what you need to do, what your model can do, whatever it can do in there. So that it helps in when building your solution.
All right. Thank you so much for that, Shion. I don't know if anybody wants to add something else. All
Mine would
right.
just be on the biases, right? So I don't think you can eliminate it entirely, but you can help reduce it. Because why I said you cannot eliminate it, this AI models, for example, AI agents, are making use of like historical data. They're making use of like a large set of data, right? So it's not possible to like eradicate things like biases, but how you can help to like reduce it a bit is continuous checking. So you need to constantly keep, not like a one-time thing. Oh, the model is working. Okay, let's go. You need to continuously keep checking. Is there one that is there one data that is not supposed to be here? Do we need to change it? Do we need to add something? So the constant fine tuning helps to reduce the bias, but you can't eliminate it entirely. I don't think so. So
Okay. Thank you for that, Chris. So Idris, I hope your question was answered. And guys, if you have any other questions, please drop them in the chat. Okay. So we are about coming to an end. We're about putting an end to this session, but I'm going to ask the speakers one last question. All right. So if you were advising an AWS customer starting their AI journey in 2026, what are the top three foundational moves they should make in infrastructure, security, and DevOps? Do you want to go first, Kusi?
Oh, I was waiting for my bosses to go first, but I think
Sorry.
I would just say, okay, Shane, would you want to?
Oh, I didn't get the question right, so that's
Okay,
what I want.
Chelsea,
Oh,
please.
okay. So, all right, let me come again. So, I was saying that if you were advising an AWS customer starting their AI journey in 2026, what are the top three foundational moves they should make in infrastructure, security, and DevOps?
Hmm, good question. So, uh, the floor is yours, guys. Go
Good.
ahead. No.
Ah, I thought he asked the question for you to answer first.
I think so. Regardless of if it's AI, if it's DevOps, foundational structure is important. That's why AWS built out something called AWS Well Architected Framework. It's a way to uh, build from beginning. So if the customer are just starting um, the cloud journey from the beginning, it depends. Then if they're already existing, but they're starting their AI journey. So well architected framework is very, very important. It helps you define the baseline, what is needed to be done, what you can put in place from an identity perspective, then from infrastructure perspective, from security perspective, data perspective is there. So I think that part, it's a great way to start from. So every environment is different, and every environment has different application and how they intended to scale and feature and all of those things. But starting with architecture framework, regardless of whatever you're building, is the key. So
All right. Thank you, Sharon. Toby,
Yeah,
do you want to go next?
yeah, I'd say security is one that should be very important. So, like in an AI environment, you need to treat the data as your most valuable asset. So you need to make sure that you're protecting your data. Like there should be data classification policies, things like encryption at rest, encryption in transit, things that are important that needs to be put in place, strong identity controls, and also audit trails, and then implementing something like principle of least privilege from the beginning. So all those things are things I would say that you need to like put in place from the beginning to make sure it's one of the top three things I would say it's important for you to start with.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that,
Uh,
Toby.
okay, so one little thing I'm going to for organizations that definitely trying to like integrate AI to their workflows, and it's very enticing, right? Very cool. If you see one today, you see like 10 tomorrow. So expect do you guys want to use AI for? Like a conversation should be had, even from the architectural design has mentioned. You need to understand like what exactly do you guys want to, you know, give to AI, because it makes you with that you can better make decisions rather than just we're trying to integrate AI, let's just do everything. So having that conversations from onset is nice. So yeah, that's what I'll have.
All right. Thank you. So, you guys, if you're a company or organization that's trying to leverage AI or AWS this year, you've heard it from our speakers what exactly you should look out for. So, um, there's someone in the comment. I believe this is a question. So the person says, I'm a front end engineer and I've been trying to find a way to get familiar with AWS in terms of what I should try to get to know first. Also, most stuff are hidden behind a paywall. So basically, the person is asking where they should start from, I believe,
Uh,
to start
Like
learning
like some
AWS.
free like some free.
Maybe.
I think Chelsea can answer that. Chelsea has
So
also
I will
enjoyed it.
so I would say, what exactly do you want to do? Because you can't say you want to get started with AWS. There's so many services. So you said you're a front-end
So many.
developer, but also like a front-end developer, and that's where I started from. So first of all, before the whole thing, the company I was working for, they were using AWS S3. Is this I've forgotten, but they were using some services, right? And then at that point, I didn't know anything. I think the one I knew was S3 because it was pretty much upload, get URL and stuff like that. But thing, I decided to start from what I was accustomed to. S3, for example, I know I want to like uploading and getting URLs, but I started trying to understand other aspects of S3, like CloudFront, sitting around it. So that can give you a basic. So now that you've from knowing just uploading, and there are certain things that you will not do, right? What you've been doing in the past. So you've upgraded in your knowledge. So now you don't just know how to upload and get URL. You now know the security things. You now know that, oh, this bucket should not be public. You should make use of CloudFront. What does CloudFront do? You now know things like CloudFront invalidation and stuff like that. So you are moving. And gradually from that, you can start picking up services one after the other. You cannot know the whole AWS. There are some services that I've not even touched. I've not heard of it. So I don't think you want to go and make use of. Sorry, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Oh,
So sorry, can I hear you?
so for the person asking the question, you can just go like that. Don't try to learn everything at the same time. Then for the pay wall, I don't have an answer to that one though, because so you definitely have to pay AWS to use some of their services. But I feel like you are asking that because you are going to more expensive services, or you are going to, like the broader ones, things that doesn't even concern you at the starting phase. But if you start with something like S3, something like EC2, oh, free ones. Okay. If you create an account, you have some free credits. So start from there to explore. And then if
Um,
you have a community, AWS, I think there is this AWS Cloud Captain, that's for the captains. But then schools usually have like AWS community. I was one of them, like I was part of it before. So you can join, do your research, find any community and join. They usually give out credits. So you're looking for free credits. I think that's one thing you should do.
so another thing you can do is that with what Kosi said, have a free account where you get, I think, $200 for a start, and after 6 months they'll ask you to pay or all kind of things like that. And also, there's still some services that are still free. So the way you can do is that if you spin up a specific service, let's say EC2 instance and all of that, you're learning. Once you're done learning, just decommission it. That way you save money. Then if you are using any other services, make sure that once you're done, decommission them. Then avoid elastic IP address in VPC, just so you know, 'cause that will cost you more money. So then if you intend to use it, you still have $200, just use it and decommission it. So whatever you're doing in AWS, use it, test it, decommission it. You can use infrastructure as code, so that way you have the configuration file which you can still use to spin up the service again. But make sure you decommission any services that you're using. That way you can save more cost. So that's all I can say.
All right, thank you, Shiv. Thank you, Christopher. Yes, and very importantly, Arinze, I believe you're the one asking that question. So, like Kosa has mentioned, you can join a community, okay,
Yeah.
get connected with fellow, even front end developers are also transitioning to AWS. So, you can join the AWS Cloud Security User Group, that is us. Okay, so you not only get access to other people, you also get access to free credits to be able to, run some things on AWS and experiment and all of that. So, yes. All right, so I think we have come to the end of the session. I don't know if anybody has any other questions. now is the right time to drop them because we are about to close the session.
I don't have any other question except if Kosi wants to say something. Do you want to say something?
No, 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 I don't. I don't.
Yeah.
All right. So it has been really, really interesting so far. This has been an interesting session, honestly. It has been amazing speaking to you guys. I learned a lot, right? Even though I was not there at the event, this conversation has taught me a lot of things, and I've been able to understand what is new in AWS, what AWS has been up to. So it was really insightful, and I'm sure that I can speak on behalf of everybody and say that we learned a lot. It
Yeah.
was really
Thank,
packed.
thank you, actually.
Thank you so much for bringing out time to join us.
Thank
You're
you for
welcome.
having us.
Yeah, thank you for
All right,
having me.
and thank you to the audience. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you. I hope you really learned a lot, and I hope it was insightful to you as well. So, till we meet again, stay curious, stay informed, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye, guys.
Bye. And
Bye,
happy
guys.
Valentine's Day, everybody, once more. So.